In this video, I'd like to express how much I enjoy using two cameras to do interviews. It helps manage jump cuts, it helps manage redundancy of video backups, it helps manage redundancy of audio backup, helps manage redundancy of equipment backup. And apparently I like to say redundancy. And this is sensor dust. Disguising jump cuts can be done in so many different ways. The most common way is shooting at a higher resolution than you need and then just cutting in post and then back out again. And of course you could always just use epic B-roll to disguise your cuts. And another one is using multiple camera angles. And my favorite is to use all three whenever possible. My favorite is using two camera angles for all paid shoots. Especially whenever you can't go back and do it again. It's a one-shot deal. So the first thing that comes with video redundancy, our two cameras record video to 2 cards on each camera. So essentially you have 4 recordings in real time at the session. Also, redundancy for audio. One, I have a shotgun mic I like to use as a primary going into camera A, and then camera B, I use a lapel mic either in view or out of view as a secondary option or primary option. But essentially I have 2 camera bodies with 2 cards each with video baked in as well as audio baked in. I prefer to have both cameras at the same distance away from the talent when shooting the interview. This allows me to stay in one location and monitor both cameras as well as the audio signals coming in at the same time. And this simply requires you to have 2 different focal lengths that meet your needs for that environment. My 2 favorite focal lengths for this is a primary 85mm on camera A and then like a 135 nice tight intimate shot for camera B. Of course, something like a 40mm and an 85 combo would work just fine. Some kind of common, just really depends on your environment and the aesthetics of your environment. Most of the time I find that majority of my shoots, my background is pretty much cluttered, especially going on location to do interviews. Sometimes for one of your cameras, it's nice to have it on some sort of slider, mechanical would be best, or manual, and this can help raise the production value, but can sometimes be an overkill if B-rolls involved. It really comes down to personal preference. In closing, I'm finding this basic combination very universal. For low paying gigs to very high paying gigs across the board. Even when I come to like a lower paying gig or a simple, quote unquote, simple interview, a lot of times the clients say, hey, you don't need to bring 2 cameras, that's overkill, it's not that complicated. But afterwards, they always appreciate the extra production value, and it also saves me time in post, to be honest. And speaking of post, by baking the audio right into the video files, as long as you have good preamps on your camera, can help keep your post-production a little bit lower, save some time on that, and maybe help you have a little bit more organization over the media as it comes in through the workflow, at least for me. The other consideration is if you're running multiple cameras is if you have a slower machine that you're editing on, you may find that it starts to lag, and if it does, you'll find your bottleneck. Whether you have a kind of a too slow of a hard drive or your computer's just not strong enough, it will reveal itself when you start getting into multiple camera angles, especially if you get into higher resolution files. So end of 2019, beginning of 2020, my current setup is 2 a7rii's. And interviews I usually record at 24 frames per second at 4K. Shooting 24 frames per second and 4K on these 2 bodies keeps face detection active. So there's a peace of mind on that. So going to 30 frames per second, you lose face detection. And there are similarities in 1080p, like 1080p up to 60 frames per second, you keep facial recognition, so it'll keep tracking your face. Once you bump up to 120 frames per second, you lose facial recognition in video shooting for the a7riii. And the 2 favorite lenses that I use are the 85 and the 135 focal length, and also matching these guys up as far as color matching and overall like lens characteristics. I really enjoy having 2 of the same brand that kind of match up in post-production. So I've got 2 matching camera bodies, same picture profile, and as well as 2 pieces of glass, different focal length, but have the same kind of characteristics. And so the colors and stuff sort of make it a lot easier in post-production to make sure everything matches up, especially when you're shooting really tight on like skin tones and stuff like that. Becomes really a lot more important. And I'm just constantly practicing, trying to up my game and be in excellence with color grading and different things like that, and catching good clean audio. Speaking of which, if I'm going to upgrade my game or to improve the quality of the commercials and the interviews that I'm shooting, the next thing I would probably increase would be maybe go to a higher quality shotgun mic and maybe record into an external recorder with better preamps. But as of right now, the preamps on the Sony cameras are pretty good, and if I do have an audio file that is going to commercial, I'll just send it to my sound engineer guy and he'll just do his magic on it and send it back to me. Easy peasy. My name is Michael Von Pick and I'm from evokestudio.io. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so. It really helps us out a lot, and see you guys back real soon. See ya. My name is Michael Von Pick.
And I am Jessica R. Bunger. We have a studio called Evoke Studio based in Fort Myers, Florida, and we are traveling photographers who do weddings, portraits, and lots of things.
Yeah, to find out more information about us, you can find us all over social media at evokestudio.io or on our website at www.evokestudio.io. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you soon.